9 men, including Memphis rappers Pooh Shiesty and Big 30, are facing federal charges for allegedly kidnapping and robbing rapper Gucci Mane about a raid at a Cordova home that belongs to Pooh Shiesty's dad.
April 1st, 2026, 6 in the morning. FBI tactical units rolled up on a quiet family house down in Cordova, Tennessee. But listen, they weren't looking for the rap star. They came for his pops. And while those agents kicked the door to serve that federal paper, a mother was trapped inside the chaos, a woman named Gladys Baines. She had to stand there watching the feds haul her child's father out in iron cuffs. Crazy part? Her boy was getting bagged in a totally different state at the exact same moment. Her boy and his dad, Ghost, both snatched up the same dawn under the same federal umbrella. The charge is wild holding up and kidnapping trap god Gucci Mane. Yeah, they allegedly put a gun to a living legend inside a Dallas booth. And the craziest part? Shiesty was strictly on house arrest, literally wearing a government ankle bracelet. His mom said he just celebrated him beating a federal sentence like 6 months prior. This ain't just another street tale about Pooh Shiesty. It's a family tragedy. Today we're breaking down that bloodline angle. The real facts, the players involved, how his mom reacted when the internet blew up, and the heavy toll on everyone left behind. Let's break it down. Lontrell Williams Jr. The streets know him as Pooh. Shiesty wasn't your average Memphis spitter. He was the chosen one, the kid who actually made it out. He forced the whole country to respect Memphis drill. Nobody did it like him. When his tape, Shiesty Season, hit the streets in 2021, it rocketed straight to number 12 on the Billboard Hot 100. Number 12, man, he had the Godfather Gucci Mane on there, plus Big 30 is day one homie, his absolute brother straight out the mud. The trenches loved him, the music industry backed his play, and his bloodline was completely in his corner. But listen, that Hollywood run crashed out fast. The justice system eventually collected its debt. By 2022, Shiesty was locked behind federal glass. He caught a nasty firearms conspiracy case down in Miami, staring straight at 5 hard years.
Rapper Pooh Shiesty is facing prison time after pleading guilty to a gun charge in Miami federal court. The case against Lontrell Williams Jr. stems from 3 shootings during the past 2 years, 2 of them happening right here in South.
October 2025, he finally touched down. Fresh whips, massive fan love, an absolute viral welcome back party. His mom saw her boy step back onto free soil. She honestly thought they had dodged the worst of the storm. Plot twist, they didn't. Barely 3 months after catching his freedom, feds claim he strolled right into a Dallas recording booth. Rolling 9 deep in Texas with his literal dad riding shotgun, he allegedly pulled a stunt that shook the rap game, rattled Memphis, and completely fractured his own family tree. And Gladys Baines? Left alone to watch the empire burn to ashes right in front of her. To grasp this colossal crash out, we gotta rewind. Way back. Let's hit the reset. Lontrell Williams Jr. was bred in Memphis, Tennessee. Honestly, that city just beats to its own vicious rhythm. They got their own bounce, strict street codes, and a hustle completely foreign to the rest of the dirty South. This is the exact soil that birthed 3-6 Mafia, the town that engineered a grimy gutter sound the rest of America ultimately stole and adopted. Pooh Shiesty was forged in that fire, raised by Gladys Baines. She held him down since day one, and when his tracks actually started blowing up, when the Gucci Mane stamp of approval hit, when 1017 Records slid the paperwork in 2020, the family's brutal grind was finally cashing out. His pops, Lontrell Williams Sr, was definitely around. Very visible, tight-knit, and if you listen to the U.S. attorneys, as we'll break down shortly, way deeper in the mud with his son's business than anyone realized. Then you got Rodney Wright, Jr. Big 30, his Memphis blood. They starved together, spit in the booth together, traded features back and forth constantly. When Shiesty Season went absolutely nuclear, Big 30 was right there. When Shiesty caught his sentence, Big 30 kept the movement alive. And the second Shiesty got out, Big 30 was waiting. That brotherhood? Crucial context. Feds argue that exact blind loyalty put Big 30 in that Dallas booth on January 10th, 2026, alongside 8 other dudes. Here's where it gets highly federal. October 2025, Pooh Shiesty leaves prison, walking out after knocking off 3 years of a 5-year stretch. Remember, he copped out to a nasty firearm conspiracy charge tied directly to street violence and pushing weight. Sprung early. Touched down to absolute social media chaos and viral love. But the feds tied a leash to him. Strict house arrest. Big clunky GPS monitor locked on his ankle.
New at 6, Memphis rapper Pooh Shiesty is out of federal prison. Court records show the Memphis native, whose real name is Lontrell Williams Jr., was released from a Pennsylvania facility after serving time for a gun charge in Florida. Williams was sentenced in 2022 to just over 5 years for conspiring to possess firearms tied to drug trafficking and violent crimes. His attorney confirmed the release, saying he's eager to return to the studio and make new music.
No guns, period. Severely boxed into tight travel zones. The government monitored every single step. But peep this. Prosecutors claim that shortly after touching down, Shiesty's label paperwork started causing massive friction. He was still locked in blood with Gucci Mane's 1017 roster. And honestly, he absolutely hated the terms. Insider talk claims that by 2024, Gucci had actually cut most of his talent loose, cleared the roster, except for two specific guys. Pooh Shiesty was one. Here's where it just gets insane. Gucci flat out refused to drop him, held onto that contract tightly, keeping him chained to the label while he did time. And if you ask the feds, that specific business roadblock triggered everything that followed. Now, watch this crash out. Instead of paying a lawyer, instead of letting his managers talk, instead of playing the corporate music game to fix his bad deal, the state says Pooh Shiesty orchestrated a street-level mission. We're talking 9 shooters, a high-speed convoy from Memphis straight down to Dallas, a bizarre pit stop at a Staples store, and heavy artillery. Skip to January 10th, 2026. Shiesty texts Gucci directly. Sets up a studio meet on the Dallas Parkway. Pull up. Let's hash this paperwork out in person. That was the bait. Gucci Mane took it, catching a flight out of Atlanta with 2 industry heavyweights, his main security guy included. Touching down in Dallas that Saturday afternoon, they fully expected a straight-up corporate sit-down. But the Fed's paperwork paints a whole different picture. Turns out Pooh Shiesty's pops, Lontrell Williams Sr, hit up a Staples just hours before they crossed paths. The state claims he was there printing out release forms, the exact same trap they planned to slide across the table to Gucci Mane. There was never going to be a negotiation. The game was rigged from the jump. January 10th, 2026. Right around 3:43 p.m., the squad pulled up and stepped into the facility. 3 targets walked through those doors, convinced they were handling strictly boardroom business. What unfolded next? The feds are straight up calling it a highly orchestrated, armed hijacking. Pooh Shiesty pulled Gucci to the side, asking for a private word. They slid into the booth, but the FBI affidavit says he wasn't alone in there. His dad, Lontrell Williams Sr, was waiting, alongside Big 30, Rodney Wright Jr. Total setup, 3-on-1. Lontrell Williams Jr supposedly set up this whole powwow to chop it up about his label deal with the rap legend. Shiesty slammed those printed release forms right down on the desk, dead in Gucci's face. Sign it, he demanded. Gucci wasn't having it. That's when prosecutors say Shiesty upped an AK-style handgun, aiming it squarely at the godfather of 2017 records. The exact same boss who handed him his biggest industry stamp, the guy who held his spot down while he did federal time. Gucci put pen to paper. He signed it, but the shakedown was just getting started. Once the ink dried, Shiesty allegedly stripped him bare, snatching his wedding band, the watch, iced-out earrings, paper money. Literally cleaned him out. Out in the hallway, pure chaos. The other 6 goons had already upped their iron on the remaining 2 guys. They shoved one dude listed in the paperwork as MM onto a sofa, running his pockets for his wallet and chains. The second guy, BP, got put in a vicious rear chokehold until he almost blacked out entirely. They violently snatched his Rolex, a Louis V bag, his AirPods, and whatever else he had. Meanwhile, the feds claim Big 30 posted up at the exit, using his sheer size to barricade the door shut. Nobody was making a move until the lick was complete. The court files get super dark here. The hostages literally thought they were going to catch a bullet to the head. They seriously thought they were taking their last breaths. Right inside that Dallas Parkway spot, in broad daylight on a Saturday. Finally, they got kicked out. The gang packed into their whips, a 2020 Hellcat tied to Shiesty's pops, plus 2 rentals also under the old man's name, and peeled off. The squad grabbed a Dallas hotel suite for the night. And bro, just hours after burning that studio bridge, half the crew hopped on the timeline, straight up flexing the snatched chains and rollies, spoon-feeding hard evidence right to their followers. The ensuing federal sweep was absolutely massive. But the absolute wildest part about this whole bust? These guys basically gift-wrapped the entire case. Literally hours after ghosting the Dallas spot, multiple suspects were out here stunting on IG Live, dry snitching on themselves by showing off the exact ice they just took off their victims' necks. Get this, Shiesty's ankle bracelet pinged him at the crime scene right as the heist went down, completely trashing his house arrest conditions. Dude was legally required to stay on the couch. The feds were literally watching his dot move on a screen before they even realized he was catching a new charge. Traffic cams and plate readers caught their little road trip from Memphis out to Texas just days prior to January 10th. Tower pings backed up the exact same route. Meanwhile, the leasing contracts physically linked Lontrell Williams Sr right to the getaway fleet. They had crystal clear video feeds from the complex itself, the spot next door, that local Staples, plus the hotel they booked. Every single move caught in 4K. And then, they got hit with the forensic sweep. Detectives pulled clean prints straight off some red Solo cups. The boys foolishly left sitting around the booth, matching half the squad. Oh, and don't forget the AirTag. That little Apple tracker gave its final ping from a parking deck sitting right outside the same complex where Lontrell Williams Sr. held a lease. The exact same address where Pooh Shiesty was crashing. That snatched wallet basically drew the feds a treasure map. Fast forward to April 1st, 2026 tactical FBI units kicked in the doors out in Cordova, Tennessee. They bagged the dad, Lontrell Sr., down in Memphis. As for Shiesty, they scooped him up at a Dallas halfway house where he was supposedly getting his life together. They snatched up 8 of the 9 targets across Dallas, Memphis, and Nashville in one massive, synchronized swoop. But that 9th guy, Terrence Rogers, the genius who flashed the stolen rollie for the gram, was still on the run when the DOJ dropped their press release. They ripped the seal off a 32-page indictment on April 2nd. Suddenly, the whole culture found out how Gucci Mane got done dirty that January 10th afternoon. But here's the twist that absolutely fractured the timeline. The paperwork spilled it. Victim R.D. Radrick Davis, Gucci's government name, actually talked to the agents. He pointed out his assailant using their IG username. He broke down the dude's exact outfit, handed the authorities a play-by-play of who stepped into that room. 50 Cent caught wind and hopped online immediately. He brought up Gucci's legendary trap background, basically asking how a pioneer of the street code ends up spilling tea for the government. 50 scrubbed the tweet, but the internet's undefeated screenshots were already circulating. The fallout was loud, toxic, and totally polarized. Did Gucci violate the rules by talking to the cops after getting kidnapped and robbed at gunpoint? Or does getting rich off a strictly no-snitching persona mean he's bound to that life forever? Twitter's been at war over it ever since. Meanwhile, Big 30's attorney, Arthur Horn, jumped on defense mode, dropped a statement claiming his guy had a spotless record, reminding everyone that him and Pooh Shiesty grinded from the mud together, true brothers, and begging the public to chill on the guilty verdicts until the truth drops. He was praying Big 30 could post bail and battle these heavy charges out in the free world. Listen, if the feds get their way, all 9 of these guys are looking at life behind bars. But look, y'all, we got to talk about the collateral damage nobody's discussing, Gladys Baines. April 1st rolls around, and she's standing there watching the feds raid her entire crib. Lontrell Williams Sr., Pooh Shiesty's pops, dragged out the front door in handcuffs. And her actual flesh and blood, her oldest boy who literally just touched down 6 months ago, the kid the whole damn city threw a parade for, nabbed in Dallas at the exact same time. Both are men, just snatched up, same morning, same crazy federal kidnapping charges. She kept it totally silent out loud, just hit Facebook and dropped a few words. Wednesday hits, and I quote verbatim, "There's power in the name Jesus. Straight up faith, zero mention of the indictment, not a peep about the feds." Thursday comes. The DOJ holds their presser. The whole globe realizes Gucci Mane is involved. That 32-page indictment leaks, and the timeline absolutely catches fire. Then, another post. My ears ringing, hashtag keep talking, hashtag blessings on blessings, followed by those praying hands. Then she dropped one final message. I've been blocked. You hating folks, hashtag amen. That was it. 3 quick Facebook statuses. No PR spin. 0 media sit-downs. Absolutely no crying for the cameras. Just a mom anchoring herself in God while the internet dissected her bloodline. Honestly, that total silence, those 3 little updates, and those emojis, they speak way louder than some drafted lawyer's statement. Just deep the trauma, Gladys Baines has survived. She birthed a kid who evolved into Memphis hip-hop royalty, watched him catch a Fed case right when he was touching the sky, held him down through the prison bids, saw him beat the odds, walking free in October 2025 to absolute pandemonium in the streets. She finally caught her breath. Then boom, 4 months pass. Just 4 months later, the FBI is pounding on her front door at 6 in the morning, hauling away the father of her only child. No cap whatsoever. That's a level of heartbreak I can't even fathom. Yet she moves strictly with prayer, pure silence, and just a tiny bit of smoke for the clout chasers speaking on her name. YSL Woody, a dude who definitely knows the belly of the beast, jumped on Instagram looking absolutely rattled, spoke on seeing Pooh Shiesty touch road, dropped that welcome home track, only to get thrown right back in the cell. He preached that pride and ego are the true killers. Dude claimed the street cycle only dies when your mentality evolves. Man, the comment section was a war zone, some co-signing, others riding for Pooh, and plenty throwing shade at Gucci. Claressa Shields doubled down on Woody's takeover on X. The whole culture was buzzing in real time. Meanwhile, Gladys just dropped her emojis and stayed solid. This indictment genuinely shifted the culture. For Shiesty, a rapper holding all the cards to orchestrate a massive comeback, with millions of fans starving for music, an industry leaving the door wide open for him, a second shot at life that most felons can only dream of. Things are looking incredibly bleak right now. A conviction means life inside a federal penitentiary. At his current age, that means leaving in a body bag. Then there's Big 30. Word on the street is he didn't even mastermind this mess, and he had a completely clean record beforehand. His attorney claims he was just a self-made artist, building real momentum in the rap game. Now, standing 10 toes down for one friend might cost him his entire existence. The man's entire destiny is sitting on a judge's desk over in the Northern District of Texas Federal Court. As for Lontrell Williams Sr, the pops, the guy accused of booking the whips, handling the fake paperwork, and riding out to Dallas with his kid, he's now fighting federal kidnapping charges. Went from just being a dad hovering around his son's superstar lifestyle to catching an indictment right beside him on the exact same paperwork. And look at Gucci Mane, a legend who spent a decade clearing his own name, kicking the cup, getting completely sober, and turning 10-17 records into a total powerhouse. Snagged a Grammy nod, penned a whole book about surviving the trap and evolving. Now he's lugging around the trauma of getting ambushed in that studio on January 10th, plus the heavy backlash from the streets after he pointed the finger. The culture learned, or should have learned, a brutal lesson. YSL Woody kept it real. Mindset is everything. Or all that game they give you in the feds about how ruthless the system really is? The GPS bracelets, the traffic cams scanning your plates, the AirTags, the constant creeping on your Instagram, none of that is hidden information. But somehow, just 6 months out the gate, the feds used their own tracking tech to pin Pooh Shiesty right at the crime scene. Right now, Shiesty is locked in a federal cell waiting for trial. His dad, also booked. Big 30 is behind bars battling for bail. Terrence Rogers is still on the run. And Gladys Baines, she's out in Memphis, dropping prayer emojis and just waiting. See, that's the angle of this tragedy no rapper is ever going to spit a verse about. The blogs won't blast it on the timeline, but honestly, it's the most raw, painful truth of it all. Another mother left picking up the pieces. So yeah, gang, that's the real breakdown. It ain't just about a studio stick-up, the GPS data, 50 Cent, dirty deleting a tweet, some hidden AirTag, or a couple fingerprints left on some solo cups. The absolute core of this is a Memphis bloodline, a mom who nurtured her boy into a literal hip-hop giant in her city. A Pops, who got way too wrapped up in his kid's street life, allegedly maneuvering the getaway rides and faking the documents. A son who walked out of the feds holding a golden ticket most dudes only pray for. And one reckless Saturday in Dallas that supposedly burned it all to ashes, the fame, the liberty, the entire future. Right before the cuffs clicked, Pushy was on the gram, flexing some brand new exotic wheels. Dropped that clip on March 11th. Now, his comments are straight comedy, with everybody clowning that the feds are gonna repo his ride. Meanwhile, Gladys Baines is out here dropping prayer emojis on Facebook while this massive federal storm is barely even brewing. Look, if this breakdown hit home for you today, if we put you up on some game and delivered a raw perspective you ain't seeing elsewhere, smash that like and subscribe button. That is the gospel we preach over at Informed Secreto. We ain't feeding you that surface level clickbait. We serve up the whole truth, the bloodlines, the hard receipts, the culture, the entire package. Best believe we are tracking every move, every single hearing, every co-defendant flipping, every dirty secret buried in those 32 pages of paperwork. Stay locked in. Catch you later. Peace.